Good morning, Bob. I'm Dr. Stefanina. What seems to be ailing you?
I can't sleep. I'm constantly haunted by the thought that something terrible is going to happen.
Well, Bob, the good news is you're not alone. Many patients struggle with anxiety, and there's a simple cure.
There is?
If you too struggle with anxiety, don't hesitate to give our office a call. Like I always say, you don't have to worry about something terrible happening to you if it's already happened. Bob here, go ahead and schedule a front office on your way out. Ta-ta! Next!
Malpractice!
In my first video, I promised a life-changing plot twist. Today, I'm delivering. Quick recap. I was a martial artist who wanted art supports. The doctor said I needed surgery. It went wrong. So wrong that 2 years later my leg was chopped off. But I didn't know how things would end. After that bad surgery, I switched to some great specialists and assumed they'd be able to undo the damage. A few surgeries in, the medical bills started adding up fast.
We wouldn't have these bills if it weren't for Dr. Don't you think we should open a lawsuit?
I cope by moving forward, and lawsuits are kind of the opposite of that.
A settlement would also pay the bills, and he really did cause all this.
I don't know.
I was hesitant. You see, I wasn't angry at the doctor. Yes, I was badly hurt, but I doubted that he ever woke up and thought to himself, I'm in the mood to cripple a mom who just had a baby. Picture a bell curve where most doctors have average competence. I've had some who are way above average, but I've also had that one who was on the wrong end of the bell curve. The bad outcome isn't always the doctor's fault. In my case, though, it wasn't just a poor surgical outcome. There were multiple instances where my safety had been compromised. It wasn't just my opinion. Multiple specialists had told me that specific things that had been done to me post-op were flat out dangerous. Even so, it's hard for a forgive and forget type of person to open a lawsuit. After mulling it over, I concluded that doctors pay for malpractice insurance not just to protect themselves, but also to help patients when things go wrong. With that mindset, I started looking for an attorney, not out of revenge, but because I had been injured physically, emotionally, financially, mentally, and legitimately needed help addressing the damage. Few malpractice victims succeed in getting a lawyer. The number of cases vastly outnumbers the lawyers. Since attorneys often pay the litigation costs in exchange for a percentage of the winnings, it's logical that they pick strong cases that are more likely to pay off. Malpractice lawsuits are uphill battles because the medical and pharmaceutical lobby groups have been influencing state and national lawmakers for ages, whereas most patients don't stop to think about malpractice laws until after they get hurt. The deck is stacked against you, so your case has to be particularly compelling for an attorney to even consider taking it on. Turns out that mine was. Malpractice cases take years. When we opened the case, I thought my foot would be saved. By the time we had the pre-litigation hearing, I was scheduled for amputation a few days later.
Hi, Mr. Bob. How are you doing?
Actually, it's Dr. Bob now.
I can see that. Congratulations.
Have we met? You look familiar somehow.
Do you remember me?
I'm not sure. I had memory loss after a bad concussion.
It must have been a look-alike. I get that all the time. You know what, Bob? You seem like a really fine fellow. Let's be friends. Selfie?
After the hearing, we entered a phase where both sides went more in-depth collecting evidence, including finding doctors willing to testify in court as expert witnesses. It's harder than it sounds. Laws dictate who can testify, which limits potential expert witnesses. To complicate matters, doctors within the same state and specialty often know each other and are reluctant to testify against each other, either because they're friends.
I'm so glad we're friends.
I've had several patients relate to me experiences they had under Dr. Stefanina's care. That, if true, would violate the legal standard of care.
or because they worry that someday the tables will turn and they'll be defendants in a malpractice case with the other doctor testifying against them.
Having thoroughly reviewed the plaintiff's medical records, I do indeed believe that there was error on the part of Dr. Bob. I also feel compelled to add that Dr. Bob has complained to me of a traumatic brain injury and associated memory loss.
When I went in for amputation, the last I'd heard was that the attorneys were working with an expert witness, and my case was looking strong. After a few days in the hospital, I went to a rehabilitation center where I had a rougher than standard recovery. I was very drugged up. Aside from oral meds, I was given injections of a drug that left me extremely loopy and extremely barfy. Fun times. Sick and alone in my rehab room, I was at my most vulnerable when I got a call.
Hello?
How are you?
Well, I just got my foot cut off.
Oh, that's right. You had your foot cut off. I'm very sorry, but we've decided to drop your case.
What?
The expert witness was not as strong as we had hoped for. We don't think he will do well in court. Pursuing litigation is expensive, so we're cutting our losses.
I looked down at my freshly severed limb and realized that for the rest of my life, I would be paying for someone else's mistakes.
Your case's next deadline is in 2 weeks. If you reach that date without an attorney, the case will be dismissed. We wish you the best and are sorry we cannot help you any further.
Wait, don't hang up. Do you know any other lawyers who might be interested in taking my case?
I don't know how my loopy brain managed to think of that, but it was my only chance to save my case. I made phone calls, but the lawyers wanted to meet me in person. Hard to do that while stuck in rehab. So I got out and drove myself the 100-ish miles to the state capitol, where the premier attorneys were. Man, that was a hard drive. My phantom limb flared whenever the car engine was on. The instant I turned it off, my ghost foot simmered down. It's not an issue anymore, but fresh off the chopping block, that was an excruciating drive. My previous attorney had forwarded my file to each prospective lawyer in advance, so we were able to dive right in.
So you feel that Dr. Did the surgery wrong?
Not having been to med school, I'm not qualified to say whether he did it wrong or not. But there are specific events post-op where I felt like my safety was jeopardized. I've also had a podiatrist and an orthopedic surgeon tell me in detail what they felt was done wrong in the surgery.
Very good. Witnesses usually fall for that trap. You know, if you aren't a doctor, you're not qualified to comment on how medical procedures should or shouldn't be done. You definitely don't want to present openings that the opposing counsel can attack.
Premier attorneys are extra picky. They don't need your case and will only take you on if your case is strong and you seem like someone who will perform well under pressure in front of a jury. The whole meeting felt like a test.
Here's a document.
Apparently I passed. Every lawyer I met with offered me representation.
It doesn't hurt that the image of a one-legged mother carrying her baby around with a crutch would make just about any jury member feel sympathy.
He was probably right on that one. I got my new attorney just in time. He was more aggressive and we were both optimistic. Next on the agenda were depositions. Amid a lawsuit, recovering from amputation, and caring for special needs kids and a toddler, we had to sell our home because it was extremely inaccessible for a wheelchair, and my doctor was concerned I was overstraining my good leg.
Come on, baby.
To protect my remaining foot, we traded a low mortgage for high rent.
Never thought I'd lose our home because I went in for arch supports.
Nope.
In the midst of selling our home, I got a phone call.
We run into a problem.
My heart sank.
State law limits who we can use as expert witnesses. Among other requirements, it has to be the exact type of specialist as the defendant. So we can't use someone like an orthopedic surgeon, it has to be exact match. I paid a few $1,000s to one surgeon to review your case, and he was hesitant to testify. So I paid for another and another. He was willing to testify, but he was so non-committal that everything he said wouldn't make him a good witness. I mean, you and I are both convinced that you lost your leg due to malpractice. You know, there's definitely evidence to support that. But the way the legal system works just makes it very difficult to prove in court. I'm very sorry, but we can't keep spending thousands of dollars on a case we no longer think we can win.
I was in the middle of losing my house, my dream house, and had already lost part of my body and the activities that had once been integral to my life. Our finances had taken massive hits, and every member of the family was struggling because Mom was now disabled. The life I'd had before was dead. I took a deep breath. I understand.
Yeah, I appreciate your understanding and, that you're not angry. As a formality, I'll send you a letter officially relinquishing the case, and I wish you all the best.
As before, I asked for references and was up against a ticking clock, but this time, things didn't go well. When the top malpractice attorney in the state drops a case, other attorneys don't think you're a good gamble, even if they'd offered to take the case earlier that year. If I'd had money to pay litigation costs and thought that I could represent my own case even though I'm not a lawyer, theoretically I could have kept the case going. But realistically, proceeding without a lawyer would be throwing away money. The next deadline came. With no one representing my case, it was dismissed. After nearly 2 years of fighting, the case is dead and can't be revived now or ever.
So, yeah, I lost. Right when the lawsuit was looking so promising. Right when the rest of life was looking so devastating.
A real-life plot twist that felt like a punch to the gut.
Was it all for nothing?
My lawyer said that doctors tend to be a lot more careful after being sued, even if the case is dismissed. So my lawsuit may help prevent other patients from being hurt by the same doctor.
My efforts weren't a complete waste, but I'm still left with a big financial problem.
Turns out that being crippled is an expensive hobby, and it'll last the rest of my life.
Ow. No one else is going to save me, so I'm going to save myself. And you're already part of it.
I started filming videos ages ago, not knowing when the lawsuit would be over so I could post them. The instant the lawsuit was dropped, I started this channel because I wanted to help people. The beautiful irony is that it's also helping me. Every time you watch one of my videos, you're helping me build a source of income to offset my increased cost of living. Some of you requested that I go on Patreon, so I just got it set up, starting at $3 a month if you're interested. When you like, comment, and share my videos, you're actively stepping in to help where the lawsuit failed.
That's pretty amazing.
When I was in the middle of the lawsuit, I wasn't supposed to say anything about my leg. I felt gagged and went through the experience of losing a limb, unable to say why this was happening to me or to express how I felt about it. I suffered in silence, but no longer.
Thank you, with all my heart, not just for your support on the channel, but for going on this journey with me. All payments must be out of pocket. We accept no insurance. Have a lovely day.